March was such an awesome month for movies. We had the Oscars at the start of the month, the release of some of the highly anticipated movies I talked about in this video, which you should check out if you haven't, and after awards season, the narrative started to shift from the best of last year to what we're going to get to see on screen this year. Whoever you are, I'm Josh. I hope you're happy and healthy. Today is April 13th, and these are the movies that I watched in March 2025. As I always do after the Oscars, I went to go catch up on the nominees that I just didn't get around to, and for me, that started with this year's Best Picture winner, Sean Baker's Anora. We talk about star-making roles, and oh my goodness. You've heard all about her by now, but Mikey Madison is absolutely magnetic. The movie is just this wild blend of tension and sexuality and crassness and humor, and clearly there was a healthy bit of improv going on in some of these scenes, which was mostly a really good choice by Sean Baker. That rambling improv dialogue does mean it loses a bit of steam and direction in the middle, but I think the aimlessness of that one night is something that we're supposed to feel, and they really stuck the landing. Yuri Borisov totally earned his Best Supporting Actor nomination. He's doing a lot with so little in terms of dialogue, and his face and his subtle expressions are so good. The dynamic between him and Mark Adelstein's characters and the contrast that's there is so well thought out. There's this one line, without spoiling anything, where he tells Anora that the car he drives belongs to his grandmother, and it just broke me. If you've seen it, you get it, but he's so good. But when it comes down to it, this is the Mikey Madison show on full display. Anora is real, and she's really vulnerable, but also hopeful. And the whirlwind of emotions that she goes through in this movie is tragic and cathartic and universal on some level. This makes extra sense if you've seen the movie, but I didn't realize just how much emotion I was holding in until it was over. Continuing with Oscar winners and pent-up emotion, I watched Jesse Eisenberg's A Real Pain, and I was blown away not by Kieran Culkin's portrayal like I expected, but by the writing. Eisenberg and Culkin's characters are variations on a theme that we've seen before, but the way they interact with each other is so unique. Nothing really feels like a line, and that choppy, kind of stilted dialogue is going to sit with me for a while. It's very memorable. Both of them are doing great acting work. I don't want to downplay Kieran's Oscar-winning role because he was really strong, but for me, the magic of A Real Pain is really in the script. Jesse Eisenberg's character has this standout monologue moment, and I was just struck by how genuinely and succinctly he talks about the difficulty of being a person who's going through something painful in a world where everyone is going through something. So why does it matter? And why do other people get to hurt but not us? And to what degree do we go beyond reasonable empathy into just burdening people with our problems in a way that doesn't even help us? There aren't a ton of answers for us, but I think that's a good thing. And I think going back to mundaneness after this really powerful episode that these characters have been through was one of the strongest story beats they had. A Real Pain is a hard watch at times, but it's so perfectly cast. And if you're into clever and unique dialogue and flawed characters, this is one for you. After that, I had one of my longest and most memorable movie theater experiences in years when I watched Brady Corbet's The Brutalist, and I had an intermission, which I don't think I've ever had an intermission in a movie theater before, so that was very cool. This was one of the brutalist movies I've seen in a while. There's just a lot of bad things happening to good people, and those people slowly becoming less good, but all the acting performances were really dialed in. Adrian Brody and Guy Pearce had such a creepy, eerie connection there. It just felt drawn to each other in such an unnatural way, and it worked so well for the story. Felicity Jones was great in her supporting role. I've only seen 2 of the Best Supporting Actress nominees, the other being the winners, Zoe Saldana, but out of those 2, I think Felicity definitely would have been my pick. And what a score this movie had. Daniel Blumberg just bringing us existential dread with this chilling piano and these deep, booming horns. This music rattles your bones. Your skeleton is vibrating when you're in the theater with this surround sound and the bass just it's crazy. And I feel like it's rare, especially recently, that a score has really stuck in my mind as memorable. But I was listening to the tracks from this movie the whole car ride home. I was just kind of sitting and processing, and that's when I knew it was really, I'd seen something special. Not going to spoil plot details, but this movie is tackling so many tough themes, the addictiveness of creating art, the kind of immortality you can gain from it, but the cost it can have on your humanity and your soul, the immigrant experience, and the way we value people of different backgrounds. And some people would say it overextended itself and it was trying to do too much, but that was not my experience. Now, there was one really shocking scene that kind of threw me a little bit. If you've seen the movie, you know the one, and I've seen people take issue with it both due to how graphic it is and also potentially how kind of on the nose or unnecessary you might say it is. And I definitely won't die on the hill that this had to be in the movie. I think there were other ways they could have gotten what they were looking for there, but I will say, with the kind of biblical scope of the ending, I think they definitely made it count, at least. Like, this ending is one of the most thematically rich of any movie I've ever seen, and I'd love to make a separate video, like, just diving into that. So many religious parallels, gorgeous cinematography, and just one of the more haunting movies, I think, to come out in the last few years. I really liked Anora, I liked it a lot, but if you were to ask me point blank right now, what movie out of the nominees I've seen should have been Best Picture, I'm going with The Brutalist. Next up, we took a trip to Zambia for Rangano Nyone's new movie, On Becoming a Guinea Fowl. And I knew almost nothing about this going in, but it was really good. It's about a girl in Zambia who finds her uncle dead by the side of the road, and it follows the family in the lead up to his funeral as some dark family secrets come to the surface. It's a cultural critique and a commentary on the way we kind of mythologize people after they're dead, even if they were very flawed, but it kind of goes beyond that accusatory message when it like complicates the family relationships. There are these real tender moments between people, and you like feel the love between them even when they're on opposite sides of this like cold war that's going on within the family. Like, you don't get a lot of times where you can just say, oh, this relative is bad. Like, there's a lot of relationships that are stretched to their limit, but they emphasize those family connections while they challenge them. This movie is dark thematically and visually, with the nighttime scenes and some really minimalist cinematography, and it takes its time, and there are slow periods where you have to sit with what you're seeing, but it's still clocked in at only like an hour and a half. So much unsaid, some really strong subtext. It's worth a watch for sure, and I would not be surprised to see this on some Best International Feature shortlists in 2026. And after I watched those 4 like serious, thought-provoking movies, I got sick and I decided I was gonna chill out with some popcorn flicks, and I watched Rush Hour 2. Basically every joke in this movie is pretty off-putting because of the way humor has evolved in the last 20 years, but we still have Jackie Chan doing super crazy stunts and some nice Hong Kong scenery. This was also my introduction to Zhang Zi, who I've learned was one of the biggest actresses in Chinese movies in the 2000s, so that is super cool. And she's playing a villain here who's working for one of the Chinese triad gangs that Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker are trying to stop. And speaking of Chris Tucker, it is crazy to me how he manages to be charismatic and likable, even watching it now when like everything out of his mouth is at least borderline racist. Josh, it's from a different time, this was funnier than whatever, I get it, right? But I think one of the strengths of this franchise is that the 2 leads are so likable that even when it fails as a comedy, it still works as a fun buddy action movie. And I'd be totally lying if I said I wasn't gonna watch the 3rd one. And last up, we have another movie that coincidentally Zhang Zi was also in 20 years later. It's 2019's Godzilla, King of the Monsters. And this movie is interesting because it feels like the transition from something like a more serious natural disaster type movie like Godzilla 2014, which is easily the best of this new series, to something more cartoonish like the last couple of Kong and Godzilla movies. Ken Watanabe is back reprising his role as a scientist, and I'm glad he was. He doesn't have like a ton to do here, but the only scene in this movie that I would call genuinely emotional is because of him. It's really the last one of these movies where they at least tried to have like real human characters, and the movie's driven not only by the monsters, but also by these 2 scientists clashing over their crumbled marriage and how best to keep their daughter and the planet safe. Vera Farmiga's the mom. She's built this prototype that can like awaken the monsters using this biosonic frequency, but she's teamed up with an eco-terrorist played by Charles Dance to use it. They play on that theme of like humans being the disease that's killing the earth and the monsters being the cure, which obviously all of us have seen before, but it still kind of works in the context of the movie. At least in this movie, they were searching for some meaning in a way that the later installments haven't even tried to. So for that, I respect it. And that's it for March. As you can see, I started with like the classy award stuff and then slowly degenerated. But I mean, we all need some fun popcorn movies in our lives, and I've been enjoying those recently a lot. Outside of movies, I'm about a month and a half away from my next half marathon, which is super exciting. My training's been interrupted so much by like injury and then sickness and then a different sickness, but I think I'm on track to be close to where I wanted to be in May, and that's really all I could ask for. As always, I love y'all. I hope you're taking care of yourselves. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this deep in the video. You're a real one, and I will see you next week.